Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. All are having a great day. Go ahead and say good morning. Tell me how you're doing in the chat. I'd love to hear from you all this morning. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the link to the video and put it in all of the places so that however people find our videos that they can come watch. All right. So how's everyone doing this morning? Hopefully having a great Tuesday. The only real thing I've noticed so far today is that it seems super bright this morning. This morning when I woke up, I thought that I must have missed my alarm because it just seemed so much brighter than I'm used to at that time of the morning. It was crazy. Hey, Dad. Doing great so far? That's awesome. I, quite honestly, am still not feeling particularly well. Trying to take it easy, but there's a lot to get done still, so we'll see. It is what it is. Morning, Marissa. Hey, Gunica. Hi, Cindy. How are y'all doing this morning? Let's see. Nice to hear you're doing good, Marissa. I'm doing okay. I still am feeling pretty crummy, which is sort of a bummer. Because a lot of the time, when you're feeling sick, it's, I think, sort of nice that we're in this situation where we can all work from home, which is usually what I would want to do. But it's all been like headachy stuff, which makes it sort of impossible to work anywhere, which is not that great. Hey, Miss Garcia. It's all right. It is what it is. It's not going to kill me, I don't think. So could certainly be worse. All right. I think we'll just jump right into our poem for today. So we're going to be reading The Garden of Love by William Blake. So this is an interesting one. I've certainly never read this poem. I don't even know that I've read a ton of William Blake. But here we go. The Garden of Love. I went to the Garden of Love and saw what I had never... Let's start over. I totally lost all of those words for a second. I went to the Garden of Love and saw what I never had seen. A chapel was built in the midst, where I used to play on the green. And the gates of this chapel were shut, and thou shalt not writ over the door. So I turned to the Garden of Love, that so many sweet flowers bore. And I saw it was filled with graves, and tombstones where flowers should be. And priests in black gowns were walking their rounds, and binding with briars my joys and desires. And that's it. It was an interesting one because it almost feels like there should be like another stanza, and that it should keep going. But I think it's an interesting poem. Yeah. And some really fun references in there, right? Those real good allusions. Okay. So the book we're going to read today is called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. They made it into a movie at some point. I don't remember when. And I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis because the last time I tried to explain this book, I did just a terrible job of it. So I'm just going to read the synopsis, which will be much better, I'm sure. Meet Oscar Schell, an inventor, francophile, tambourine player, Shakespearean actor, jeweler, pacifist, correspondent with Stephen Hawking and Ringo Starr. He is 9 years old, and he is on an urgent, secret search through the 5 boroughs of New York. His mission is to find the lock that fits a mysterious key belonging to his father, who died in the World Trade Center on 9/11. An inspired, innocent Oscar is alternately endearing, exasperating, and hilarious as he careens from Central Park to Coney Island to Harlem on his search. Along the way, he is always dreaming up inventions to keep those he loves safe from harm. What about a birdseat shirt to let you fly away? What if you could actually hear everyone's heartbeat? His goal is hopeful, but the past speaks a loud warning in stories of those who've lost loved ones before. As Oscar roams New York, he encounters a motley assortment of humanity, who are all survivors in their own way. He befriends a 103-year-old war reporter, a tour guide who never leaves the Empire State Building, and lovers enraptured or scorned. Ultimately, Oscar ends his journey where it began, at his father's grave. But now he is accompanied by the silent stranger who has been renting the spare room of his grandmother's apartment. They are there to dig up his father's empty coffin. Hey, Mom. Oh, I was just about to say that if you hadn't read it, that you would love it. It's so good. And I realized that this is one of those things that maybe a lot of you students don't have, probably don't have any memories of 9/11, or even if it's aftermath. But this is a really great book of how a child essentially deals with not just such an intense world event, right? This massive world event, but also how a child deals with a personal tragedy, right? Because a lot of what Oscar is struggling with here is the loss of his father. And so it's quite the interesting book. It's written really well. It's an interesting story of like self-discovery, as well as feeling like a mystery, right? Because he finds this key, but he can't figure out what it goes to. And that's the whole thing. He tries to figure out where it is. So I'm going to read the first couple of pages. And I'll tell you right now, they're sort of silly. But I think it gives us a really good sense of what Oscar's what he sounds like as a character. That sort of silly, funny, weird, um, endearing mix. So, what about a tea kettle? What if the spout opened and closed when the steam came out, so it would become a mouth, and it could whistle pretty melodies or do Shakespeare or just crack up with me? I could invent a tea kettle that reads in Dad's voice, so I could fall asleep, or maybe a set of kettles that sings the chorus of Yellow Submarine, which is a song by the Beatles, who I love, because entomology is one of my raison d'etre, which is a French expression that I know. Another good thing is that I could train my anus to talk when I farted. If I wanted to be extremely hilarious, I'd train it to say, "Wasn't me," every time I made an incredibly bad fart. And if I made an incredibly bad fart in the Hall of Mirrors, which is in Versailles, which is outside of Paris, which is in France, obviously, my anus would say, "Ce n'était pas moi." What about little microphones? What if everyone swallowed them and they played the sounds of our hearts through little speakers, which could be in the pouches of our overalls? When you skateboarded down the street at night, you could hear everyone's heartbeat, and they could hear yours, sort of like sonar. One weird thing is, I wonder if everyone's heart would start to beat at the same time, like how women who live together have their menstrual periods at the same time, which I know about but don't really want to know about. That would be so weird, except that the place in the hospital where babies are born would sound like a crystal chandelier in a houseboat, because the babies wouldn't have had time to match up their heartbeats yet. And at the finish line of the end of the New York City Marathon, it would sound like a war. And also, there are so many times when you need to make a quick escape, but humans don't have their own wings, or not yet. So, what about a birdseat shirt? Anyway, my first jujitsu class was 3.5 months ago. Self defense was something that I was extremely curious about for obvious reasons. And mom thought it would be good for me to have a physical activity besides tambourining. So, my first jujitsu class was 3.5 months ago. There were 14 kids in the class, and we had on neat white robes. We practiced bowing, and then we were all sitting down, Native American style. And then Sensei Mark asked me to go over to him. "Kick my privates," he told me, and that made me feel self-conscious. "Excusez-moi," I told him. He spread his legs and told me, "I want you to kick my privates as hard as you can." He put his hands at his side and took a breath in and closed his eyes, and that's how I knew that he actually meant business. "Jose," I told him. And on the inside, I was thinking, what the? He told me, "Go on, guy, destroy my privates." Destroy your privates? With his eyes still closed, he cracked up a lot and said, "You couldn't destroy my privates if you tried. That's what's going on here. This is a demonstration of the well-trained body's ability to absorb a direct blow. Now destroy my privates." I told him, "I'm a pacifist." And since most people my age don't know what that means, I turned around and told the others, "I don't think it's right to destroy people's privates, ever." Sensei Mark said, "Can I ask you something?" I turned back around and told him, "Can I ask you something is asking me something." He said, "Do you have dreams of becoming a jujitsu master?" "No," I told him, even though I don't have dreams of running the family jewelry business anymore. He said, "Do you want to know how a jujitsu student becomes a jujitsu master?" "I want to know everything," I told him, but that isn't true anymore either. He told me a jujitsu student becomes a jujitsu master by destroying his master's privates. I told him, "That's fascinating." My last jujitsu class was 3.5 months ago. So I'll stop there. I just love the way that this book is written. It's this really sort of fun, playful, whimsical take on some really serious topics, which I think is super fun, super interesting, and it is really well written. It is, for the AP students here, it is absolutely a book of literary merit. It's totally worth your time, um, in terms of giving you a book that will challenge you to think. Um, but again, it's written from the perspective of this like 9-year-old kid. So He's certainly precocious, but it's not, like a challenging read in terms of understanding, it's just a challenging read in terms of it's sort of a heavy topic. So, yeah, that's what I had for today. I got the poem, I did the book. Um, Tell me, what else do we have going on? What other questions do we have? What else are we thinking about? My plan for the rest of the day is probably just gonna be to go rest for a little while before we have class today so that I can be, at my best when we're all together. Man, we are quiet this morning. I was like, is it me? Is it my low energy is keeping us all from being talkative? It has not stopped the birds in that tree outside my window, though. They are loud this morning. Such is life. All right. All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, I'm going to sign off a little early today so that I can go get to resting. Oh my goodness, Ms. Garcia, Monday was a long week by itself. I My husband was asking me what time my next meeting was, and he was like, "Is it like 11 or 12?" And he was thinking about like our staff meeting or my leadership council meeting, which is on Thursday. And I was like, "Oh yeah, totally." It's because I was thinking it was Thursday. No, it was Monday. Dad, you probably don't need to get a little crazy. That's probably not necessary. We can all leave early, take a rest. Marissa don't have much happening today except for math homework. That's fair. Um, Gotta get that math homework done for sure. All right. So I'm gonna sign off a little early today so that I can go rest and make sure that I'm a little bit more energized for later today in class because we got some exciting classes today. All right. So I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday. Always remember who you are, what you represent, and to show your Mustang pride. Bye, guys.